Hi guys, welcome back to another Ask Me Anything. Interesting question today. We're talking about school again and formal education. Asking, is a college education worth anything today? It's only worth what value you put to it. It's only worth what you're willing to invest in it. And what I mean by that is not which university you're willing to invest in, but rather what you make out with the degree you have. So if you're going to get just a business admin degree with no purpose, not knowing why you're going to school because you want to do something in business, so it's probably not the right thing, right? Because at that point, you're not leveraging your degree for anything. All you're doing is just getting a degree first and then trying to kind of figure out how to make it in the real world. Well, by separating the two, you're automatically kind of voiding your degree and making it pointless in your life. So the best way to leverage, I guess, formal education is to understand that what does formal education do for us during our middle school to high school days? It doesn't, high school teaches us the basics of survival. It doesn't teach us the basics of growth. So in high school, you learn the basics of survival, and between middle school and high school, you learn to be exposed to hundreds of subjects, things you don't give a shit about, like biology and this. If you're not in medicine on planet B, then it's kind of pointless, right? They have nothing to do with you, but yet you're still forced to kind of take these things and learn about them. So the reason why, you're forced to learn about them is because the goal of education, formal education, is to expose you to a lot of things because you're young and you don't know better. So the goal is to expose you to things until you find interest in one, so you know what to pursue in college. If you don't find interest in the courses, then typically, it's not that there's no hope for you. It's just that, no one has been able to grab your attention to something good enough that is worthwhile for you to kind of focus your attention to. So what happens is during your middle school to high school times is really the best times for discovery. And then college, you're supposed to make a decision. That's the whole goal of going to college, is to make a decision of which field you kind of want to follow and then become somewhat of a very proficient person who can now enter the workforce in that field. So the more generic and general the field is, the less likely it is that the degree will matter and be relevant to the success in that field. If you're getting a very basic business degree, where business takes on many shapes and forms, looks very different depending on who you talk to, how you talk about it, and in which industry you talk about it. And therefore, getting a very generic degree like a business degree is usually, and usually there's always that exception, but 99% of the time, not a necessity to succeed in business. However, on the other hand, let's say you get a degree for science and you're going to go and, get your pre-med and all that stuff because you want to be a doctor. Well, you can't be a doctor without a degree, right? So that specialty and that niche is ultimately where you're going to find the value in the degree, because the degree is necessary for the success in the field. So I think I look at education as twofold. How much of education can you leverage in terms of networking and making the most count outside of just learning the courses or the information you're exposed to. And then I also look and think a lot about, when I think about education, how niche and how specific is your area of study, and what are you hoping to kind of become out of it. A lot of times I ask this question to people who are in school and they don't have an answer, and I think this is the best way you can determine if it's the right time for you to go to college or not. I ask people, I say, what do you want to do in 5 years? When they're about to start between high school and college, I'm like, what do you want to do in 5 years? And they'll tell you what they want to study, but they don't really know what they want to do. So nobody will tell me oh, well, you know what I want to do? I want to become a vet. I want to work with animals. Okay. So now you have a profession. You want to become a veterinarian and you want to work with animals. So at that point, now you have to backstep. If that's what you want in 5 years, what do you have to do between now and 5 years to be able to get there, to be able to be successful at earning either that job or creating your own practice and doing exactly what you want to be doing? So most people don't know what they want to be doing in 5 years, so they only focus on ultimately what they need to study today because they believe somewhat they want to be in that field, which isn't always accurate, right? So the idea behind what I'm trying to say here is that education should be used as part of a plan. If there's no plan, and if there's nothing that you want to do, or you don't know what to do with the education, then don't waste your time going and earning credits or spending time in a university going in debt over something you don't understand just because you want to kind of be and get it over with. Any type of education for the sake of just gaining education is great, but if it's in the sake of going in debt, a heavy amount of money while you're trying to figure out what you want to do and probably something completely different than what you're doing, it's probably not the best course of action, right? So I highly recommend that anybody who finds themselves kind of confused about is formal education for them or not, ask yourself how much of this formal education, what role does it play in terms of within the plan? You know, like what plan do you have and where does formal education play a role in that plan? If it really doesn't, then you need to reconsider how much time you're investing in formal education, and then what is the true cost opportunity for doing so. For every year you're going to college, you're going to debt. For every year you're going to college, it is one more opportunity that you could be working somewhere, gaining experience. And so what are you giving up for the formal education? And especially when it's not linked to a plan, what's going to happen once you receive that formal education? I think these are all questions you should be able to answer, especially if you're considering spending large amounts of money in a university. And today's question actually came from our social audience again, asking how can young people not be written off as kind of like doing anything and be taken seriously?